Ozempic is shrinking portions and affecting restaurants. Elon Musk has a new chef robot and diner. Pumpkin Spice is back with a vengeance, and the restaurant performance index dipped in July. All this and more in today's Repertoire Report. My name is Ray DeLucci. Justin is out this week, and I'm very, very excited to get into these stories and chat with you all on what's happening in the food industry. Before we begin, if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, please leave a review. We're trying to up our numbers on those platforms, so leaving a review, leaving a comment on how you like the show is helping us get a lot of traction. And if you're on YouTube, as always, please like and subscribe. Liking and subscribing helps us with the algorithm and lets us get more traction to the YouTube page. So exciting things on both fronts. And yeah, like I said, we have a big story today. And the first one's coming out of the New York Times and the Iowa radio site. So to start, the New York Times has an article sharing Ozempic is shrinking appetites, restaurants are shrinking the food. And what is this about? So they break down that almost a quarter of diners at any time in a New York City restaurant could be eating smaller portions of food in New York City. This place called Clinton Hall launches an $8 teeny weeny meal aimed at diners that want less amounts of food in their meals. So the owner introduced a special after seeing how many people in his own life were taking GLP-1s, a class of drug used for weight loss because they suppress appetites. Quote, I am always with someone who is taking Ozempic, he said. They have one or two bites of food and a couple of sips of drinks, and they're done. And this is true. I've dined with people on Ozempic or on GLP-1 drugs, and they do not eat a lot. Sometimes they have to prepare to eat, and the amount of food they eat is small. And before you run away on the Ozempic story, I really think you would want to hear what's going on in the food industry because I see the comments. It's a crutch. People don't want to acknowledge it. People think it's lazy. The reality is that many, many Americans are taking Ozempic or GLP-1 drugs, and many more are going to continue to. And since they affect food so prominently, I think it is doing yourself a disservice as a business owner if you don't take this seriously. So, quoting the article, 8 to 10% of Americans are now taking GLP-1s, and 30 to 35% have expressed interest in taking them, according to an October 2024 report published by the consulting firm PricewaterhouseCoopers. In April, a Bloomberg intelligence survey found that more than 50% of users dined out less frequently since starting the medications. Another report published by Morgan Stanley that month found that 63% of people on Ozempic order considerably less when they do go to restaurants. So it is becoming as common as diners who are vegan and vegetarian, as far as the United States, even more so. And this is actually and I think this is a really interesting framework. If you were to put it into perspective, in the next few years, it will be more common for diners to be on a GLP-1 drug than it will be for them to be vegan or vegetarian. And restaurants all the time have vegan options or vegetarian options or options to accommodate. And if you don't have options for GLP-1s, you will fall behind. So not only are these food cravings down, but also alcohol cravings are down as well. Quote, in the spring, Back Bar, a cocktail bar in the Aventy Hotel in Midtown, added a half-size martini, about 2 to 3 ounces, to its menu for those using GLP-1s. Quote, folks may not want to curb their drinking, but their bodies can't tolerate the way that they once could, said Jason Hedges, the bar's beverage director. He estimates the bar sells about 35 mini martinis a week, compared with the 75 or 80 regular-sized martinis. The nearby Floor Room in the Moxie Hotel has a new mini martini hour where people can get a tiny cocktail for $9. Some businesses are advertising menus for GLP-1 users by name. For example, like we covered before, in October, Smoothie King of last year, Smoothie King debuted a 5-item GLP-1 support menu in its app that is high in protein and fiber and low in sugar. In March, it began displaying the menu in stores. Lori Primavera, the vice president of research and development and product marketing for the company, said that both anecdotal evidence from stores and research studies led to the decision. We wanted it to be easy for our guests to see this section, she said. We want to support our customers when they're on this journey. The want is not just low-calorie food for people on GLP-1s. It's calorie-dense or nutrition-dense, lower calorie. And so in this article, they come up with a lot of things that you may scoff at or think are, not that interesting right now. But they talk about McDonald's branding into a high-protein McFlurry. They talk about all these different options because at the end of the day, we are going to have to be accommodating the people on these medications because so many Americans are going to be taking them. So then we get to this Radio Iowa. So Radio Iowa shares the following. This is a case study for just the state of Iowa. Quote, when people first started talking to me about this, up around the first of the year, I thought, that doesn't make a lot of sense. Iowa Restaurant Association President and CEO Jessica Dunker said. But as more and more of the population is taking these GLP-1s, there's a couple of side effects that are maybe unforeseen and they do impact restaurants. So the article continues, for every 1,000 people in Iowa, a dozen had a prescription for Ozempic and Wegovy that was being covered by insurance, according to a recent Axios report. That doesn't count others who are paying up to $1,300 out of pocket for a month's supply. And Dunker said that means they're using disposable income to lose weight and get healthy, leaving less money to go out for a meal. So not only are people eating less, but some of them are using these funds to purchase GLP-1 medication, and so for their ability to spend is going down overall. Quote, secondly, their appetites are definitely impacted by this, Dunker said. Quote, we're finding that people do go out less. They spent less when they arrive. They're definitely choosing smaller portion sizes, or only maybe just a small appetizer and one drink, versus someone who maybe would have come for dinner. A survey by Bloomberg found 54% of all GLP-1 users said they've dined out less frequently, as we covered before, and it's having an effect in Iowa restaurants that offer table service. Quote, we're not going to encourage anyone to not get healthy, but there is real impact there. So if you had a recent weight loss, come out and celebrate with something healthy and bring some friends along. So kind of Dunker's trying to just, drum up business for restaurants. So what do we learn from this? What do we learn from these stories? I shared this when I was doing Line Cook Thoughts. I shared this on the Repertoire report, and I'll get people in the comments that say, it's a crutch, it's lazy, I'm not worrying about this. I'm not accommodating someone that's going to take the quote unquote easy way out. And I think that's an awful perspective. And the chefs that get left behind with GLP-1s and serving customers on GLP-1s are the ones that were left behind with vegan and vegetarian. They're the ones that were left behind alternating their menu for different allergens. We are sometimes an industry so resistant to change. And the issue with that is that we are in the hospitality industry. We are in the industry of serving others. And so if we are saying now in America in 2025 that it's estimated 8 to 10% of all Americans are using GLP-1s, and we're not going to, in a business where margins are so tight, we're not going to accommodate them, then I just think that those restaurant owners are going to struggle going into that last half of this decade. Like I said, put in perspective, there will be a time in the very near future, possibly now, where a higher percentage of Americans are on GLP-1s than there are vegan or vegetarian diners. And that is just the fact of the popularity of this. And I say that because I went out to a restaurant this weekend near me, and there was a beef or vegetarian options. Like, there's gluten-free options. There's going to be GLP-1 options soon. I'm telling you, this is coming to the restaurant industry. And if it's not coming directly in your face where customers are saying, hey, I want more GLP-1 options, it's going to hit you in sales. It's going to hit you in profit margin because diners are changing, because this is something that changes how they eat, what they crave, and what they're willing to go after. So all of this to say, as we go into the fall, as we look into the last quarter of this year, GLP-1 medications are being adopted more and more by American consumers. States like Iowa are seeing impacts in sales and what the common diner on GLP-1 medication is purchasing. These trends are already happening. And in an era where profit margins are tight, the costs of doing business are fluctuating, where there's a lot of uncertainty in the market, the best thing, in my opinion, you can do is offer some accommodation to people on GLP-1. Because even if people go to the restaurant and say they're on it, or the reality is the more you offer to consumers like this, like, you have a first mover advantage right now. And in my mind, the marketing play to this is like, these consumers on GLP-1 medications, it's hard to find craveable foods that are nutrient dense that they can eat. And if you are able to package a meal or a dish or an experience around, hey, you're going to come here, you're going to get great food for a great price that's nutrient dense and hits all your cravings, then I think you've won them over tenfold, because this medication is something that is changing their cravings. It's changing their decision making. It's changing how they consume food. And if you can be a first mover on that, I just see positives. And again, for those saying this isn't important, 10% of the population soon. You're already seeing data from states like Iowa. Not sure what else to say. It's not just a drug that some people are taking. It is affecting how restaurant group stocks are valued. Like, it's affecting stock valuation. It's affecting how grocery stores are planning their forecasting for purchasing. It's affecting a ton. And again, the small restaurants saying it's not a big deal are just simply lost. This is coming. It is a big deal. And real quick, before we get into the story, just a caveat that regarding Elon Musk's policy decisions, political decisions, I'm not a fan of, don't support them. We're here to talk about Tesla. We're here to talk about Optimus robots, and we're here to talk about the Tesla diner. But I just wanted to give that caveat because I know a lot of those decisions and whatnot affect a lot of people in our industry in a negative way. But I do think it's important that we cover this because there is a automation food industry story here that I think is worth covering, which is a really interesting story here. Elon Musk's AI chef that can replace your favorite cook. This was published 4 months ago. We never got to it, but I wanted to bring it up for the story that the Times posted a few days ago, or a few weeks ago. So to start, Elon Musk, or Kulina, is a fully autonomous robot chef that's as smart as it is stylish, and around $5,000. It's also the most expensive dinner guest you'll ever invite into your home. So I don't really like that writing because it's not really a dinner guest. It's making dinner, so that doesn't make sense. Sorry, Fast Company. Created by Tesla's new food tech division, Kulina uses advanced AI to cook thousands of dishes to perfection. It even updates itself with new techniques and tweaks your meals to match your taste buds. Want extra garlic? No problem. Feeling fancy? Ask for a 5-course feast. All you have to do is say, "Hey, Kulina, make dinner," and the magic begins. Musk insists Kulina isn't here to replace real chefs, but to help people eat better with less effort. Why stress about dinner after a long day when Kulina can do it for you, he said. While that might not be in every kitchen just yet, this robot chef is a glimpse into a deliciously techy future where dinner is served by AI and dishes are always Instagram worthy, quote unquote, from the article. Justin and I have talked about this a ton. Like, automation in food is hard. It's difficult. It's hard to get these things right. It's hard to get food right. So this focus on robotics, this focus on automation and cooking is being worked on. And it just so happens that it's being worked on by Tesla, having a food tech division. I found it very difficult to get more details into this, quote, food tech division, but I will share what the New York Times thought about the Tesla diner, and I think this will give some insight into my opinion and Redditor's opinion, what I would agree is opinion on what is going on here. So, Tesla diner, where Elon wanted to throw back to diners in the glitz and glam of his tech empire, quoting New York Times, the food itself looked like merch, too. Waffles embossed with Tesla's app's lightning bolt icon and dusted with powdered sugar, like the Mickey waffles at Disney parks. Burgers and sandwiches packed in vented Cybertruck-shaped boxes, at least until the kitchen ran out of them. For the culinary portion of the project, Tesla hired the restaurateur Bill Chait, known for Republique and Tartine, along with Eric Greenspan, the chef of the Foundry on Melrose, who has lately been developing ghost kitchen concepts, including Mr. Beast Burger. We've talked about that on Line Cook Thoughts. What a story Mr. Beast Burger was. Maybe Justin and I can go over that later sometime. Mr. Greenspan also formulated a Kraft single dupe at his company, New School American, and that thin, sticky rendition of American cheese made from a base of aged cheddar shows up all over the Tesla menu. In its first hectic days of business, most of the menu items advertised across platforms weren't available. This is the author, when I went, there were no salads, no veggie patties, no club sandwiches, no avocado toast, no beef tallow fried hash browns, no biscuits, no pies, no cookies, no soft serve, no milkshakes, and no quote-unquote epic bacon. The focus on innovation was also not received well by the Times. Quote, Tesla engineers built a proprietary tool to flatten patties for the smash burgers with crisp brown edges, held together with caramelized onions and cheese, which seemed to be on most tables. It lent the dish a superficial whiff of innovation, but the burger didn't stand out in any meaningful way. So, they continue. The Tesla diner has been sold as a charging station, a drive-in, and a classic American diner. But by the time I left, I wondered if whoever wrote that copy had been to a diner. A diner is a kind of North Star. Its doors open, its menu constant. For now, you never know how long it will take to get into the Tesla diner, or when you do, what may or may not be available. Last week, after posting about the restaurant's, quote, epic bacon, went viral on X, disparaging the abyss between its artificially glossy image on the touchscreen and its actual grimmer presentation in real life. The bacon disappeared from the menu. What bacon? It was if it never existed. It's always a tactic used. Quote, none of this seemed to deter the people in line. On my way out, I squeezed into an elevator with my colleagues, some international tourists, and a few locals who'd eaten at Tesla Diner 3 times in 1 week and were already planning to come back. I couldn't make sense of it. Quote, we don't order anything except for the burgers now. Everything else is just so bad. So we look at that, and I think what is interesting, one, is food is hard to do. Food is very hard to do. Two, like when you're opening a grand restaurant and you're out of everything, like what a common problem. There's a Reddit thread from someone who went. This is a Tesla Investors Club on Reddit, and they say this is their pros and cons. So pros, has a futuristic Johnny Rocket feel to it. That is pretty cool and unique. The outer space bathrooms and galaxy lights are on theme for Elon's fan base. People are saying the food tastes great. I honestly thought it tasted like Sonic, but with some higher quality ingredients. Integration of ordering food inside your car and should be able to get audio in the car in the future. Has lots of Easter eggs that are mildly entertaining. And then he goes, due to Musk's popularity with some people, why not gouge them for more money? Cons, expensive prices. Tastes like Sonic, got 3 times prices for 5% better food. Definitely won't want to live next to one with all the light pollution, which they say may not matter in LA. Optimus serving popcorn was lackluster. And then the Wi-Fi connection broke down, so it just sat there lifeless. It's a cool, unique spot. Visit was great, but like my visit to Four Corners and Mount Rushmore, once is enough, and I would never go out of my way to experience it again. How does this impact Tesla? Long story short, it doesn't. It delivers a Tesla SpaceX theme with unique atmosphere on first glance, but in the end, it will be an overpriced restaurant for Elon fans to gather and discuss their trip to Mars in 2024 in a flying roadster, while their Tesla makes them $30,000 a year until they summon it back to the diner via Neuralink. Wow. So all this going on, and I'm just sitting here like, this company that's at the leading edge of technology for electronic vehicles, for spaceships and whatnot, can't get a restaurant right. On paper, that's how it looks. So what is it then? Why are they doing the Tesla Diner? Beyond creating restaurants, being a supercharging station for cars and keeping people there and creating more revenue while they charge, or even brand rehabilitation at this point. And I honestly think this is a training ground or training operation for the Optimus autonomous robots. I think, and I chatted with Justin on this. He gave this perspective too, where it's like the Optimus robots, this idea of having AI in your home is scary right now for most people. It's not wanted. You go to a Tesla Diner and the Optimus robot hands you popcorn, or they're cleaning the bathroom, or they're doing small meal prep tasks in the kitchen. Things that people at home, if you were to buy an autonomous robot, would want in your house. And so I actually think the Tesla Diners are being used to train these robots, being used to train the Optimus robot, the Kulina version, what have you. Because I think at the end of the day, their goal, the company as a whole, is to be sellers of autonomous robots for households. They want to make it household commonplace to have robots around your house doing the menial tasks that we won't do each and every day. And I actually think that's what the Tesla Diner is really for. I think they're for being able, like, you wouldn't put them behind a car if you obviously don't just want them wandering around to test. But a diner is kind of like a controlled environment where these robots are able to have interpersonal reactions, inner robot personal reactions, be able to react with real humans, be able to do menial tasks, and be able to do stuff like cooking, cleaning, greeting, everything you would need in a residential space. So I actually think I looked at and read it, and I tried to find a lot of, and I'm really surprised because a lot of the reporting on this stuff just focuses on the diner and the negative or the positive or whatever, what have you. But not many places actually have come to the conclusion that the Tesla Diner, I don't think, is the winner. I don't think in 10 years we're going to look back and go, oh, the Tesla Diner is amazing and they're the next McDonald's or they're the next Sonic on steroids or whatever it is. I actually think we're going to go look back and say, oh, this Optimus robots or automated robots from this brand started in Tesla Diners, and that's how they were able to build their systems up, their code up, and their ability to reach new customers or be able to be put into better situations because they had all this training and practice in a diner setting. So that's what I think the Tesla Diners are for. I'd be interested to see your thoughts. And again, I don't know. I don't think this is kitchen automation. Again, I don't think this is for sure kitchen automation, but rather a focus on testing a product in real time to be sold to customers at home. Now, if robots at home are making you chef quality meals, and you don't have to do it. Of course, that then goes into restaurants, but it's a different capture. It's like the same conversation with GLP-1s. It's making consumers eat differently, so therefore their spend is different. It's not just saying they're buying this, so they're not buying this. So all that to say is that's why I think the Tesla diner exists. That's what I really think the long play of the diner is, and we're gonna have to wait and see. So that's my story on Tesla. Interesting to hear your thoughts. So, quote, and this is from Bloomberg. Starbucks Corp said its fall product launch, which included the return of the seasonal Pumpkin Spice Latte, drove a surge in sales. The product lineup helped deliver a record-breaking sales week across our U.S. company-operated stores, as well as strong sales in Canada, Chief Executive Officer Brian Nichols said in an internal message to workers seen by Bloomberg News. It's welcome news for Starbucks, which is working to reverse a string of sales declines. Nichols is leading a turnaround focused on improving customer service, revamping the menu, and making stores more welcoming with steps like adding more seating. The chain has also added significantly more staffing to stores. Nichols said in the message, Starbucks recently allowed workers to pick up shifts at more stores, which ensures fewer slots go unfilled. Unquote. All right. So, this idea of nostalgia, this idea of sales doing well. Starbucks has had the pumpkin spice latte for years. Every fall, it's a big deal for them. It's a big release. And the fact that in 2025, when the economy's tight, when things are going, things are just more expensive and harder for Americans, the fact that they have their biggest sales shows that nostalgia is a big winner right now. Again, the Tesla diner. We've talked about these different brands. McDonald's bringing back the snack wrap and really turning around their Q2. All these different things. Nostalgia is a big player. If you're a restaurant or you're a food business and you have items that customers have loved in the past that are not on menu, I think right now is an excellent time to bring them back and redeploy them. People are looking for nostalgia. They're looking for comfort in their food. They're looking for security in their food. Like, hey, if I'm hungry, I'm going to go eat something and it tastes delicious. They don't want to have to guess if it's going to taste good or not. All that to say, I really, really, really think we need to stay focused on giving consumers value, and nostalgia plays are one of them. So, that being said, with the story, I just think it's interesting to see that out of all the different things, all the varying factors, Starbucks is still not doing as well as a company. I know their shares were down last week, but the fact that the pumpkin spice boom brought them record-breaking sales weeks shows that like customers are invested heavily in coffee drinks and drinks in general, which we'll share at the end of the show, but also they're focused on nostalgia, what comforts them, and what's bringing them joy. And with everything going on in the world right now, I think it's super critical that restaurants know this if they want to keep customers coming back. All right, next up. All right, so this Beyond Meat story. So I covered the Beyond Meat story a few weeks ago. And there was reports in mid-August that Beyond Meat was going into bankruptcy. And actually, it's not true. So what is going on with Beyond Meat? So there's no doubt that Beyond Meat is not doing well. They're not doing well as a company. They're experiencing a lot of, we've covered this. What we covered on that is true. But there were rumors that they were going to be, going into bankruptcy. Their revenues declining. They have persistent losses, a lot of debt, weaker market. And this story came out from The Street saying Beyond Meat headed to Chapter 11 bankruptcy, and that was back on October 14th. And since then, Beyond Meat has shared that they are not filing for bankruptcy, calling these claims unequivocally false. So regardless of business performance, regardless of how Beyond Meat is doing, they are not filing for bankruptcy. So I thought that there was an article here that I thought was really interesting to break down. It's by Jessica Scott Reed, and it's from thesentientmedia.org, and it says Beyond Meat's rumored bankruptcy is the perfect example of food media bias. And so basically in the article, she goes on to say that Jan Dukowicz, assistant professor of political science at the Pratt Institute, tells Sentient that ever since Beyond became a public company trading on the stock exchange, the company has attracted an outsized level of attention. Similar reports about Garden, says as an example, would never garner this kind of a response. The scrutiny comes from social media, but traditional media plays a role too. Quote, there are a number of reporters on the food beat who very regularly will use the stock performance of Beyond as a stand-in or the performance of the sector as a whole. So basically what the professor is saying is if Beyond Meat's doing well, then the media platforms will say, okay, plant-based as a whole is not doing well. That, accompanied by Beyond's latest quarterly report, means a rumor like Beyond going out of business already has such fertile ground to spread like wildfire online, unquote. The company also said it's rebranding, dropping the word meat from its name, which led to speculation, and it's a notable turn for their company. Um, Goes on to say, in an interview from 2023, founder Ethan Brown told The Guardian that one reason for sluggish sales was a false narrative about plant based foods, a change in perception that is not without encouragement from interest groups. One such campaign comes from the for Consumer Freedom, a PR firm with the ties to the meat industry. In 2020, when Beyond sales were booming, a campaign to tar falsely plant based meats as ultra processed, unhealthy, and even scary got national attention. The Center for Consumer Freedom took out full page ads in the New York Times and Wall Street Journal warning that fake meats are full of real chemicals. The group also created a $5 million Super Bowl ad showing a girl being asked to spell methylcellulose, a common food binding ingredient, which was described as a chemical laxative in synthetic meat. The false narrative was amplified by interested parties, including veterinary pharmaceutical giant Elanco, whose profits are inextricably linked with factory farming. It was also spread by online meat influencers and proponents of the carnivore diet. The professor says these are false narratives, many rooted in bad information about their lack of healthiness. Their level of processing have added to challenges the plant-based industry faces today. Misinformation continues to circulate online. So, in a bid to distance itself from the ultra process critique from this article, Beyond recently pledged to changes to its product, along with a rebrand. Company says it will be rolling out new items, including a stripped-down ground meat called Beyond Ground, made with just 4 ingredients: water, fava bean protein, potato protein, and psyllium husk. In a recent interview, Brown told Vox that the success of the plant-based market will require really simple, clean ingredients. The company has even reformulated its burger, now in its 4th iteration, to have 60% less saturated fat and 20% less sodium. Whether Beyond can avoid restructuring remains to be seen. What is far more certain, and often left out of the breathless reporting of a plant-based company failing, is the heaps of research supporting a shift to eating less meat and more plants. The fact remains that all peer-reviewed science shows that eating a primarily plant-based diet, even if it's processed, even if the delivery mechanism is plant-based meat alternatives, is better, says the professor. It's better for the environment and is a part of a healthier, complete diet. So, full disclosure, I do work for a plant-based company, not Beyond Meats, plant-based cooking. So, just wanted to disclose that. I was kind of confused with the ultra-processed nature of plant-based meats because, like, of course, like they had to be processed in some way. They're not like just a cow, like out there. Like they have to be made. But I think Beyond Meat did a very poor job of sharing like how the product was made, what was in the product, and at the same time, it's very interesting to see. It's like you heard about these stories in like the 50s and 60s of large food companies, or like you even look at the cigarette companies, like taking out ads, doing studies and sharing about how smoking cigarettes were good. Like obviously, like eating meat compared to cigarettes, like the health trade offs there are not the same. But I do think that we need to be really mindful of how narratives are spun. And I think for many people, like I think if you're in the food industry and you like are aware of this stuff, many people might think that Beyond Meat is going bankrupt, and that's not the case. It was just an unfounded claim. Just be aware. Be aware of the news. Be aware of what guides you. But I do think that in an era where like beef tallow for fries and all this other meat is so popular and like people want that again, like the reality is our food system is changing. It is stressed. Sustainability still needs to be a part of it. Plant-based dining still needs to be a part of it. Eating more plants as a whole for Americans, like high fiber, all of that is something that is integral. This going back to GLP-1 users, like nutrient-dense foods, our nutrition is lacking in the United States, and plants play a big part of that. But it's just interesting for me because we reported on Beyond Meat's financial failings, and those are true. But even I had the assumption, oh, they're going to be going bankrupt, and it's just not true. So, clarity on that. An interesting piece by Sentient Media. You should go check them out, and we'd love to hear your thoughts. All right. Next up on the agenda. So this is the Restaurant Performance Index. If you are new to the show, I cover this. And so basically, this is an index the National Restaurant Association puts out every month or covers every month. So we are covering July. And so basically, this is their index, and it goes, quote, the Restaurant Performance Index declined 0.3% in July. So the National Restaurant Association's RPI registered a modest decline in July as restaurant operators remained uncertain about business conditions in the months ahead. The RPI, a monthly composite index that tracks the health of the United States restaurant industry, stood at 99.7 in July, down 0.3% from a level of 100 in June. This marked the continuation of a recent trend in consumer activity, with restaurant operators reporting higher same-store sales but lower foot traffic. Looking forward, restaurant operators' sentiment remains cautious amid continued policy and economic uncertainties. The current situation index, which measures current trends in four industry indicators, stood at 99.7 in July, down 0.2% from a level of 100 in June. Restaurant operators reported a net increase in same-store sales for the fourth consecutive month in July, but customer traffic readings remain negative for the sixth straight month. Restaurant operators have a mixed outlook for sales in the coming months, while their expectations for the overall economy remain decidedly negative. And so, looking into this data, it's a 3-page report. There's a bunch of different graphs, and their outlook on the economy is just really low right now. So 44% of restaurant operators expect their sales to remain flat. 27% think their sales will be lower in 6 months. Only 15% of restaurant operators said they expect economic conditions to improve in 6 months. That was the lowest reading since 2024. 41% of restaurant operators think economic conditions will worsen during the next 6 months, and 44% think conditions will remain about the same as they are now. Despite this, and this is the end of the report, a majority of restaurant operators are planning for capital spending in the coming months. 55% of operators said they plan to make a capital expenditure for equipment, expansion, or remodeling during the next 6 months. That was up slightly from 54% last month and represented the highest reading since the February 2025 survey period. So, we're seeing two different things. We're seeing economic factors affect restaurants and sales. While sales are higher, same-store sales prices are up, foot traffic is down. We're seeing operators very, very nervous about the future. This data shows that they're not very happy with how the economy is doing. They're not very happy with what customers are telling them. They're not very happy about sales overall. And at the same time, they're still going ahead with planned expansions and equipment purchases and whatnot. And I think that may be like trying to get ahead of the storm. So we'll see what happens. It's a very important report. I feel like if you're in restaurants, you need to be reading this stuff or coming here and getting the breakdown. So I'll leave the link in the show notes below, and you can check it out. But yeah, it's not looking terrible, but it's not looking great. All right, 2 quick bites to end this podcast. The first up is going to be the Kraft Heinz news, which is the Kraft Heinz to break up a decade after a mega merger. This is from Food Dive. Kraft Heinz is planning to split into 2 companies, reversing much of the $46 billion merger that formed one of the world's largest food giants a decade ago. The first business will focus primarily on sauces, spreads, seasonings, and shelf-stable meals, housing some of the company's most iconic brands such as Heinz Ketchup, Philadelphia Cream Cheese, and Kraft Mac and Cheese. An executive to run the company, which will have nearly $15 billion in sales, has yet to be announced. The second company will house grocery staples, offerings such as Oscar Mayer, Kraft Singles, and Lunchables. Kraft Heinz CEO Carlos Abrams Rivera will oversee the firm with $10 billion in annual sales. They go on to say that in 2019, Kraft Heinz announced a $15.4 billion write-down on Kraft and Oscar Mayer. The shares of the company have dropped roughly 60% since the two combined. The split, they said, quote, will improve focus and reduce complexities for the respective companies. The Kraft Heinz nearly 200 brands across 55 categories in 150 countries had made it difficult to invest in the products. Separation also will separate the faster-growing sauces, spreads, and seasonings from the slower-growing grocery products unit. Quote, the complexity of our current structure makes it challenging to allocate capital effectively, prioritize initiatives, and drive scale in our most promising areas. By separating into 2 companies, we can allocate the right level of attention and resources to unlock the potential of each brand to drive better performance and the creation of long-term shareholder value. Names for the new companies have yet to be determined. You would think they would just do Kraft and Heinz. They will face the same headwinds and consumer trends that have weighed on Kraft Heinz for years. And then that comes also with the new food dyes and other initiatives by RFK and the government to improve healthiness in their products. So they need to keep prioritizing innovation. And the breakup is expected to take place in the second half of 2026. And yeah, so billionaire investor Warren Buffett, to end it, who masterminded the Kraft Heinz merger, told CNBC he was disappointed in the company's decision to unwind the merger. Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway, with a 27.5% stake in the company, is Kraft Heinz' largest shareholder. The stock fell 5% midday trading on Tuesday. And the last bit of news before we head on out is going to be The rise of the dirty soda, a trend taking the beverage industry by storm by the Food Institute. So basically, what a dirty soda is. So dirty soda is a customized fountain drink made by adding various ingredients to a standard soda, such as syrups, heavy cream, or fruit juices, to create unique flavor combinations. According to menu data, the market for dirty sodas is expanding rapidly. Currently, dirty soda menu penetration is at 2%, but is growing at a rate of 42%, while traditional soda remains flat. The pricing for dirty soda averages $5.50, with prices increasing by 6% quarter after quarter. And then social media mentions of dirty sodas have increased by 270% over the past 12 months. Consumers are drawn to it, Food Institute shares, because they allow customers to customize their own flavor combinations and it gives them a sense of like control. The process of making a dirty soda is seen as fun. For those avoiding alcohol, dirty sodas offer like an indulgent and exciting alternative. It's like a mixer, it's a mocktail, stuff like that. It's not like considered a mocktail, but the idea of making just not drinking soda, but making something your own like little drink. And it's a trend largely driven by the preferences of younger generations, particularly Gen Z. The desire for customization and unique experiences is a key driver of this trend. The growth of non-alc beverage market also plays a significant role as well. And so basically tips for crafting the dirty soda, like having popular add-ons are key. So they put in like whipped cream or coconut cream, candied fruit, coconut, pineapple, and strawberry, and then making it visually striking and then offering customization and different textures. So yeah, if you're a restaurant that you offer beverages, consider adding a dirty soda option. It's really popular right now, especially amongst Gen Z consumers, and just something to be aware of. So that is it for this week's Repertoire Report. Justin will be back next week. Thank you all for joining. I hope September starts off well for you all. And yeah, if you're listening on YouTube, please leave a like and a subscribe if you are not subscribed. If you're on Spotify and Apple, please leave a review and follow along. We'll see you on the next Repertoire Report.